Hi everyone. Let me introduce you with Raven from the SimplifyNext, from the Robotic Process Automation or RPA company. So the RPA actually used to automate repetitive tasks and manual processes. So I'll hand it over to you, Raven, to actually talk about more about RPA to us. Thank you, Raven.
Thank you, Anna, and thanks everyone for having us here today as part of your tech vendor showcase. Like Anna mentioned, I am Raven. I'm from SimplifyNext. We are a local automation company, so we're a company based out of Singapore, and our primary focus, like Anna mentioned, is robotic process automation within the realm of the larger automation space, right? So before we get into RPA and what it can do for you, I just wanted to spend a quick minute in terms of why are we here? What is it that we do at SimplifyNext? And really, it is our job to sort of look at the activities that enable you to do your core job better, right? And in a more efficient way. So in the case of social workers, such as yourselves, that would mean spending more time with the families in need or the youths at risk, and less time sitting behind a computer doing the more structured, repetitive work that you normally do, right? So help us help you by letting you spend more time with your families in need, by letting us help you take care of the more mundane activities that you do in the background, right? That's as simply as I can put it, right? And how do we do this, right? And that's really where we talk about robotics process automation. So I don't know if you've heard of it. There's this trend called RPA. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. So I'll assume you haven't. But essentially put, it may sound very complex, or what is robotic process automation? Are there actual physical robots involved? Like I'm talking, like is there on the slide right now? Or is it something far simpler? And the answer is, it is far simpler. RPA is nothing but a software robot, right? That mimics human interactions and automates your repetitive rules-based processes that work with structured digital data. So what does that mean, right? It means that if there's something that you do on your PC or on your computer that is repetitive, I mean, you do the same thing over and over again, right? For example, say you take case management, right? You've gone and you've met the family, or you've spoken to the youth at risk, and you now have to come back and enter all of that data into a case management solution. You may write it by hand. Some of you transcribe it into Excel, and then you have to move it from Excel into your case management solution, right? All of that takes time. So why not teach a robot how to do this one time, and then the next time you come back, just transcribe it into Excel like you maybe always do, and then just let the robot update it and upload it into the case management solution for you in a fraction of the time. Right? The great thing about RPA is that it's not a year-long project, it's not a 2-year-long project, etc. These things go up in weeks, right? I mean, we literally start to finish for our use cases sometimes can be done in less than a month, right? And it's non-intrusive. We just look at what you're doing on your computer, and we can get the robot to do it, right? And you're not alone. If you're trying to use it, you're not alone. RPA is widely adopted in the Singapore public sector. I mentioned public sector because you are there. Of course, the private sector uses it heavily as well. And a number of ministries and statutory boards are already adopting it, and many of the processes that they run are already using RPA. So maybe I'll stop talking and maybe make it a little bit more real in terms of what is RPA and how does it actually work, right? So this is a simple demo of something that you would probably do on a fairly frequent basis, if not for your work, in your personal life, right? So I'll start the demo, right? This is the automation software that we use. And what it's going to do is it's going to try to do a simple check for a certain product, right? Now, say, for example, you're looking for toilet paper, right? Or face masks in this setting, or hand sanitizers. But you need to help your families find a product that is fairly cheap. You could go to, I mean, there are plenty of portals out there, right? Like Shopee, Lazada, FairPrice, etc. But the problem is it takes so long to find the product that you want. What if the robots could quickly get all that information for you, put that into an Excel, and then you can sort and get exactly what you need to do, right? You can quickly find the cheapest product that fits your needs. It gives you the link, and then you're done, right? You can send that across to your family, or you can go and get in touch with them, so on and so forth, right? So I've just run the bot. It's asking me enter name of item to search, and what I'm going to do is maybe, you know, given this weather, this climate, maybe I look for hand sanitizers, right? And I just hit OK, and I'm actually not doing anything. My hands are here, and you can see that the robot has gone to Lazada. It is going to search for hand sanitizers. It waits for the page to load. And essentially, while you think it's not doing anything, it has actually scanned the entire page, picked up all of the items together with their prices, gone to the second page, because I set the limit to 50 items. I can very easily set it to 100, 200, whatever it is. And in just while I've been talking, it has finished searching Lazada for hand sanitizers, and it has sent me an email, right? So I'm going to go click on it, and I'm going to go into Outlook. For this demo, I turned off my email so that I don't get emails in the middle of the demo. And there is the email that the robot sent, right? And it said, your recent search on Lazada for hand sanitizers. It gives me a nice little message, you know, that here's a summary of prices. And if I just open that Excel, all of this was generated by the robot. I didn't do anything. Then in that case, you see it has actually taken the first 50 items, 51 rows, because the first row is a header. And then I can just play with the Excel or do whatever you need to do to sort by price, right? So for example, I can now go, okay, wow, there's a $2.25 item, which is hand wash. I probably don't want that, but here, there's a hand sanitizer from Clover Soft, and it looks like it is $4. And if I just go to that item, I can just get more details on it, right? So that entire manual process that you would have spent searching, scanning, etc., the robot did for you in a fraction of a second, right? We can also add functionality in the bot. In this case, it says this is out of stock, but we can very easily add functionality in the bot to exclude items which are out of stock, right? So that's just a really quick demo in terms of how RPA works. You saw I did nothing. I just started the bot, I entered the item I wanted to search, and then the robot did everything else for me. And it worked faster than the amount of time I could spend explaining what it does. So real quick, I mean, what are the benefits of RPA? Most of our organizations, and as you can see, we can do more with the same workforce, right? So you have 100 things to do and enough time to do 50 of them. What if you could do more by leveraging on these robots, right? Most importantly, you all will be tired. You know, you spend a lot of time traveling, you're out on the, you know, going around Singapore, meeting all these families, meeting all these youth, and you probably then come back at the end of the day and you are likely to make errors simply because you are exhausted, right? Robots don't make errors. The third point, I mean, we talk a lot about the social workers, but this is also NCSS as a whole. So maybe if there are any finance people listening, finance people love RPA simply because it can adapt to your peaks. And what I mean by that is your month-end closing activities, your quarter-end, your year-end, those very long days in the office in the first week of the month or towards the last week of the month. doing essentially reconciliation work or month-end closing work. And robots can do that in a fraction of the time. And maybe you can start going home a little bit earlier than you used to in the first week of the month, or especially towards the end of the year. It's very fast to deploy. Like I said, you don't need years. You need half a year. You don't need a quarter. A lot of our use cases go up in less than a month. I'm actually just finishing one where we started in the week just after Chinese New Year, and we will be going live on Monday, right? So it is that fast. And really, this stuff is not hard. It's just like learning how to use a robot and also then extending it to other use cases. I showed you Lazada. What if it was, check Lazada and Shopee, or check Lazada, Shopee, exclude items that are out of stock, etc. Right? Extending robots to do stuff like that is really not that hard, right? So at this point, I hope you've seen the power of RPA, and I hope you're beginning to think about what are those processes that you do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that you wish that you really don't like. It's repetitive, it's mundane, but it needs to be done, right? So what are those processes that you think can be automated? And as you think of those processes, you should apply these selection criteria. There's 5 of them, right? And it doesn't mean that a process has to meet all 5, but if it's meeting 3 or 4 of these, it's a good candidate, right? The first one is it should be rules-based, right? If sometimes you do it like this, sometimes you do it like that, or it depends on the color of the sky, then really it's not a good process, right? This is a process that it's the same every time you do it, or with rules, you can put it into a certain structure. Great process for RPA. Multiple applications involved. This is simply because a lot of our use cases involve retrieving data from many different applications, and robots do that really well. Not to say that if it doesn't have multiple applications involved, cannot do RPA. You saw that in the demo, I just used Excel, Outlook, and Internet, and that's it, right? Structured format. This really is the most important, right? Unfortunately, while I know a lot of you go to your appointments and then take notes by hand and handwrite it in your notebooks, unfortunately, RPA cannot understand your handwriting. Most humans can't understand mine. So robots, unfortunately, need the data to be structured. And what that means is put the data in Excel. Or if there's a standard template that you can send an email to a email account that the robot reads, that works too, right? But it should be digital, as in not handwritten or on a piece of paper, and it should be structured, Excel or a defined template. Stable process, this is really, I think it won't be too much of an issue for you all, but basically, if you've just gone live with a new process, it's not a good idea to do RPA on it because you're going to change the process. And if you're going to change the process, the robot might need to be changed. So let the process stabilize a bit, and then after that, look to use RPA to automate it. And finally, high volume. Many of our clients look to automate their processes, which really there's a lot of volume to it. That's not always the case, though. Some of our clients automate processes that they do even once or twice a year, but it's because the bots give them so much accuracy and so much compliance that, so much accuracy that from a compliance perspective, it's still worth it, right? There's no mistakes, and when they get audited, they can go, a robot did this, it cannot be wrong, but here you go, and you can still, do your audit if you need to. But most auditors also go, you know what, if it's done by a robot, we're okay. So, but for your case, high volume helps, but it's not a necessity. So my last couple of slides are really around some ideas that, some use cases that may help you think about other processes you may want to automate to reduce the strain on yourself, right? And just before that, I was talking to one of my friends when I was telling them I was doing this recording, who's in the microfinance industry, and she was telling me, dream that all of you have is, you have sufficient funds, sufficient resources, and sufficient supply of altruists, as she called it, to do exactly what you need. And then she said, but then reality hits. And the reality is your teams are small. And you handle work meant for double your team size. And that's really where, look to see if robots can help you to do a lot of that extra work that you wish you just didn't have to do. So there are 4 use cases I've talked about over here. The first one is onboarding. Our clients usually use robots to onboard new staff, and that usually means getting a lot of information from multiple systems. Like they need to do certain checks, get historical information, send forms to the applicant, get them to fill in information, so on and so forth, and then collate all of that information, then send it to finance to do some work, IT to do some work, procurement to do some work, HR to do some work, and then maybe some admin themselves, facilities to get your pass ready, etc. And it always has to be done on a timeline. Whereas a robot can just be told at X date, this must happen, at Y date, this must happen, at Z date, this must happen. So for example, if the new joiner is joining, 2 weeks from now, in 1 week before the start date, do certain work, and the robot just does it every day. Just check, is it time? If it is, I'll do it. While I talked about onboarding for staff, the same use case can be extended to onboarding your clients. So if there's certain work that you do, which is always the same, repetitive, every time you onboard a new client, see if you can automate that. Because if you tell the robot will always just do it. The next one, which is really a very common case across social services, is data entry, data management. You spend a lot of time with families in need or youth at risk. So and then you come back to enter everything into a case management solution. Why not put it into an Excel? A lot of our clients actually do this. They go, you know what, it's much easier for me to just work on an Excel. And then when it's done, just give it to the robot, and then the robot does all the activities it needs to do. And the robot will not just do something as simple as take data from the Excel cell, put it into the case management solution in this field. It can, of course, but even if there are certain rules or logic it needs to apply, if a value is A, do B. If a value is C, do D. If a value is E, multiply it by F, or go to this website and get a certain data point and then upload it. The robots can do all of that. As long as the rules are defined, the robot can do it. Corporate engagement. This is a very common use case. We know that you do a lot of corporate engagement. You work with corporates to raise awareness, for funding, for getting people to volunteer, etc. And a common activity is managing events, where you invite these corporates to explain what you do, your mission, how they can help, etc. Now think about all those emails you send the corporate to say, this is who we are. Okay, now I'm going to send it to, we're having this event on X date. Will you be coming? Then you have to follow up with them because reply. Or once they come back with a dietary preference, they may not come back with a preference, so on and so forth, right? So there's so much back and forth manual work that you need to do. The robot can do all of that for you. If you give it the right rules, it can do all of that for you. And I'm not sure if you get emails from certain ministries, but there are some ministries who have already automated this process, where this entire process of sending out emails, tracking responses, sending reminders if responses don't come in at a certain by a certain date, etc., is all automated. And you may have received the email, but it looks so real, you think you're actually talking to a human. And lastly, fund management. NCSS in general, and maybe some of you out there, have certain funds that you need to allocate, right? And you have a number of applicants that come to you asking for that funding. And you have to decide whether this organization should receive the funding or they should not. This is a standard use case, and a variant of it actually is also a standard use case in RPA, where think of loans, right? A lot of banks use RPA to analyze whether to give a certain applicant a loan. And what do? They go and check your credit score. They go and check CPF, to see whether what is your contribution history. They look at things like what is your income. They look at what is your current debt or your liabilities in terms of your mortgage. Do you own a car? How many family members do you have? Are you the only earner? So on and so forth, right? So it's looking at all of these data points and helping you make a decision, or helping the bank make a decision on whether they should approve a loan for you or not, right? And that's why, you know, a process that used to take weeks earlier is now done almost instantly. Same concept applies to you with your fund management. If there are certain things you do, you check certain credit histories of certain organizations, you look at their founders, you look at the history of their founders, you look at their ACRA profile, items like that. Let the robot do all of that for you. Just tell them, go here, check this. If it meets these criteria, pass. If no, fail. And then if there are 3 out of 4 failures, or 4 out of 5, or 2 out of 4 success, so on and so forth, pass. And it can automatically tell you this organization is worth looking into, or this organization is perfect. Just hand out the money up to whatever is the amount that you can also define in rules. So robots can also help you with things like your fund management, right? So what's next? To be honest, this slide is a little busy, but essentially there are 2 parts you should be thinking about. First is, how do you get started? What are the processes that you want to automate, right? And then let's implement them, right? So really, let's keep it simple, 3 activities. The first one I call process qualification, right? And over here, all you're doing is looking at this presentation that will be sent to you, identifying the processes that you think can work or can be automated, or really think about the ones that are very painful, the ones that you have to do and you really don't feel like doing them, as long as they're on a computer and use structured data, right? So that you come out with your first level of filtration, right? Then call us, right? Get in touch with Anna, get in touch with Lisa, whoever it may be, and then, you know, get in touch with us. And, you know, the least we can do for all the fantastic work that you all do is come down, meet you, and at least look at your processes and identify, are they good candidates? Or if not, why not? If you have certain questions, we can answer those, so on and so forth, that we then come up with a sort of a final scope, right? And then you decide whether you want to proceed with that. I'd say start small. Don't try to boil the ocean, as they say, and try to automate 20 processes. Start small, 2 to 3 processes, and let's get it going, right? And as we do that, you'll also understand what the robot is capable of. And you'll also then identify new use cases. But start small, right? And then really, that's the start of your RPA journey. We did that for a lot of our clients. This is just a list of some of our clients. We've been in the industry now for a while, and these are all clients who benefited from our RPA work, right? You can see there's a big selection of both public as well as private clients, right? So we've done this for them. They're pretty happy with us, touch wood, and yeah, we've got. We'd be happy to help you as well. And if you need to get in touch with us, there are 2 names over there in addition to your own contacts within your social service circles. You can contact Joanne Lim, or you can contact me, and we'd be happy to have a conversation with you. And with that, I'll hand it back to Anna.